Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Imagine making a difference. No, imagine being the difference. The difference between I can't and I can, or I won't and I will. The reason someone chooses to wake up and strive for greatness. In life, it can feel like everything is working against you. Let's defy all odds and break generational curses. This is Overstepping Poverty with Daquan and Zacchaeus. Welcome back to Overstepping Poverty, the podcast that provides you with tips, tricks, and hacks in overstepping poverty. My name is Daquan Brooks, and I'm here with my co-host Zacchaeus Shaw. How you doing, Zacchaeus?
I'm doing good today, my man. You know, got a beautiful restaurant that we're in, beautiful business here, new location, as you guys can tell, with yet another awesome guest to go over the journey.
Absolutely.
You know, the journey is different for everybody, but a lot of times we all have the same goal, and that's to be able to provide for our family and build a legacy. And I think these guys are doing just that. So how are you doing?
I completely agree. I'm doing great. Like you said, you know, I'm very humbled, and I feel blessed that we're able to step inside another local business in Sioux Falls, one that's striving, you know, bringing something to the Sioux Falls community that hasn't really been here before.
Ever.
You know, in a location that many other businesses haven't really done well in, but like I said, they're striving, and it's nice to be able to feel welcomed inside their business to really go over exactly that journey. So
absolutely, yeah. So I want to get into this. I want to introduce our special guest today, somebody that I've known for a very long time and has been like an uncle to me, you know, especially over the last few years. He obviously is co-owner of this Roots of Brasil here in Sioux Falls. Today we have Jamie Grogan.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, my man? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. No, I was excited to have you on because I feel like you do have a very inspiring journey. I know you've been through a lot, through all the trials and tribulations. You've still continued to want more out of life, and I think that's a good example of what we all want to do. We all go through things, and it's important that we keep going at the same time. So I kind of want to jump into it with you. You know, obviously your business is Roots of Brasil here in Sioux Falls. There's obviously a tie to Brazil. Can you kind of take us through your journey, how it was as a child, you know, growing up, where were you, and through the journey of to where we're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, I'll say I believe that complacency can just stop any progress in your life that you know that you want to advance to or get to and attain.
Right.
First and foremost, and as far as me, my mother is Brazilian, was born in Brazil. She graduated high school at like 15, and then was a professor by 17 in college, and then wanted to continue her education. Ended up, of all places, her sister ended up in Boston, Massachusetts, and she ended up in Madison, South Dakota, and then that's where my dad was going to school there on a basketball scholarship, and that's where she met my father.
Okay.
So then she never went back.
Right.
And they ended up getting married, and then shortly thereafter, I came along. You know, and then I've just ever since then it's been we've lived down there. I've been back and forth every summer. I'm going down there with her and whatnot.
Right.
And you know,
down to Brazil.
Down to Brazil, yeah.
Okay.
Staying in, you know, so half my summers would be down there, and we've lived there for a little bit.
Right.
And whatnot. So it was constant cultural change for me my whole life. You know.
For sure. And then so as you're growing up, do you have siblings?
Yep, I got two sisters.
Yep. And when you lived here, what was it like? You know, because you went to O'Gorman.
I went to O'Gorman.
Correct.
Yep.
So you talk about the differences of cultures of going from somewhere like O'Gorman,
right,
and then in the summers you're spending your time in South America.
Right.
What did you think you learned the most from that specifically, getting thrown back and forth into different cultures?
Right. Well, I mean, O'Gorman was the only school I was at for more than I was there for 4 years or whatever, obviously, right? But otherwise, I didn't go to school for more than 2 years.
Okay.
The rest of my history or whatnot. So.
Right.
So I was constantly always kind of the new person in the school every 2 years or whatnot. So I was just kind of adapting with that. But even with that said, that kind of made everything easier to be going to one country back to another or whatnot. And all my family on the Brazilian side is still living there and still out there.
Okay.
What I would take from it is just the lifestyle. The living of life is a lot more on a relaxed, like let's live the life, let's enjoy the life versus let's work all the time.
Right.
As like here in the States, you know.
Okay.
A little more laid back.
Enjoying
Good
life.
Good vibe. Yep.
I love that.
Awesome.
I love that. You know, we talk and discuss about culture and diversity, and there's just been so many people that have come from many other places and came to Sioux Falls. You know, we're in the Midwest. It's different. It's definitely different here. So what I want to know is, when you guys came here as a family, has it been very welcoming for you guys, especially going to not a public school, but a private school like O'Gorman?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is in the beginning. It was different, you know, because I mean, my mom was considered a person of color and whatnot, and there wasn't a lot of color in this town back in the day, you know.
Right.
So my dad would get questions like, "How's it going for you being in the relationship with her or whatnot?" You know what I mean? You have any problems? Like it almost like we were different, you know. So for me in the beginning, I didn't really enjoy what would happen here. You know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Right.
What's good now is seeing that the growth that is happening and the minds that are changing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
And the cultures and minorities that are around more immensely than they ever were. You know.
Absolutely. And I feel like the reason that has changed is because it's continued education and learning more, you know, not being sheltered, learning more about different cultures and being around those different cultures and diverse groups. And there's a saying that we always say, and it's, if they knew better, they'd do better. Right. And so what that means, again, is you continuously teaching, you know, your children and teaching them exactly different aspects and different cultures, because it's beautiful to learn about how other people live or how they grew up. And that's exactly why we have this podcast, because we want to know more about these local business owners, these leaders and community leaders. You know, I want to know exactly how they grew up and how they became who they were today. So that's why I asked you that question. And it's nice that, like you said and you pointed out, that it's changed, and it has. The last 10 years, it has changed quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I see it now because I went to O'Gorman as well, and I could count on my hand, even in 2012, on one hand how many people of color were in the school. And now I coach at O'Gorman, and I see the difference. I see how many different cultures that are there, and it really is a cool thing. But you can also see it in the attire of the students.
Right.
You can see the way they're walking and the way they're talking and the clothes they're wearing. They're different. And that's good because it just shows the growth. It shows that we thrive off of other cultures in America. Like, that's what America is a melting pot of cultures from all over the world. So it's silly to kind of look down on different cultures. And it, like you said, it is the Midwest. Kind of do expect a lot of the stuff that we get here, but it is nice to see the change that is happening.
Culture and diversity shouldn't be a bad thing.
No,
not at
For me,
all.
I think the more diverse and the more culture you have in you, I think the better person that you're probably going to be or become. You know what I mean?
I
don't
agree.
think you know what I mean? And I think we have a moral. Everyone as humans should have an moral obligation to accept culture, enjoy culture, want to learn other things, want to try other foods, want to diversify the community they live in, want to make an impact and help try to make a change as individual as it can be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything big. Just in your day-to-day life, just be a better person and understand other people's cultures and the differences with each other, you know? Because at the end of the day, we're all the same. You know what I mean?
And we all have a lot of, like I said at the beginning, we all have a lot of the same goals when it comes to wanting to be able to provide for family or continue to build and get better in our lives. And we're just so much better together. And I've said it on the podcast before that we have so much more in common than we think.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how did we get to this, though? How did you get from working, because you've worked in the kitchen for a long time.
Yep.
How did you get from that now to having your own restaurant with your family?
Well, it was been grinding for a while around here, so
yeah.
We just had an opportunity. My sister knew the owner of the building's son she was working with, and he said, hey, my dad has a building available if you guys are interested in putting in a restaurant. And my sister and brother-in-law had previously owned Kaladi's for about 10 years, and then they kind of sold that and got out of the game for a minute. And then my mom, my dad, and my sister and my brother-in-law, like, yeah, let's go look at the spot. Let's check it out and see if we want to do it.
Right.
And it just felt like when we got in here, it was just almost as instantaneously. We all kind of were like, yeah, let's go.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And let's bring our cuisine and culturify it like the cuisine of the city. You know what I mean?
Right.
In a way, I feel like honestly, right now where we're at, the pride I have is I feel like I have one of the most diversified restaurants in town, that where everyone can come and eat. You know what I mean? And find something on the menu that they would enjoy. You know.
Right.
And I think the Brazilian cuisine is it's kind of doesn't get as much notoriety as other cuisines in the world, but I think just the amount of different people, from Italians, Japanese, African, you know, just the plethora of people that live there.
Right.
All the cuisines change, and you know what I mean, and adapt and morph, and becomes what it is, you know.
Right. What is we talked about it a little bit before the episode started. Where does the name Roots of Brazil come from? Like, what is the
meaning?
Yeah, the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
All.
So with all that I just said, with how diverse the country is, and also kind of where we're at as well, right? We didn't want to corner ourselves to just be doing a specifically Brazilian cuisine, even though that's like pretty much the main thing we are doing. But I can take a piece of Brazilian cuisine and then make it with like it's something Italian or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Make it different.
Yeah, switch it up a little bit. But use the same nuances of whatever the dish is, and then just take a little piece of there and a piece of that, and then put it together, and then create different dishes. So the roots is like the bearings and the roots are always going to come from Brazil, but it also will allow us to experiment and with other genres and cuisines, just as if we are there. You know,
Right.
whether it's Japanese, whether it's African cuisine, whether it's Italian, you know what I mean, and so on.
I love that.
What would you say is your biggest successes that you've had coming from the restaurant industry? Because I know it's not an easy industry.
It's not. Yeah. Nope. I mean, this would probably have to be here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just having and
Yep.
owning this business, making it your own.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What's hard is like when we first opened, I was terrified that we just it would be all messed up something. You know what I mean? Like wouldn't go the way it does. So for me, it's humbling to see, like, read people's reviews and then how they feel and like their opinions on the place, you know, and it just kind of, because I put a lot of my heart into everything, and we put a lot of our heart into it, and it's good to know that it's felt. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like,
Absolutely.
If you can feel it in the dishes or feel it in the environment and feel, we want to take you somewhere. Like, we want to take you to Brazil. We don't want to take you on the corner of 8th and Railroad in Sioux Falls.
Right.
We want you to come in and escape.
Literally.
You know?
Yep.
And that's what it is when you come in here. If you've never been to Roots of Brazil, I highly recommend coming down here. It is nothing like anything we have in the whole state, and I've never left disappointed. And the portions on some of the food is really big, a lot of food you can take home.
I was going to say, yeah, I've
love
never
it.
left on an empty stomach. I've
Heck
never
no.
left disappointed. You know, my wife, she typically doesn't eat leftovers. And the first time we came here, we had the jerk chicken. And
Oh my gosh.
she boxes it up, takes it home, and every morning I'll get up and I'm like, all right, I got something to eat because we went to a restaurant before, and she had already eaten it, and I'm like, okay, cool, all right. But yeah, she, you know, every time I come here, and if it's not with her, she does get upset. But that's just because, again, just the environment, it's very welcoming, and just the food. I feel like everything that is here, there's so much thought and there's so much heart put into it. You know, so and that's why I love seeing the success of people who truly care about what they're doing. And it's not only just caring about what you're doing, but you're also caring about who's working around you as well, you know, for that as well. So I actually want to, that jumps me into my next question. We're in a very tough space when it comes to people wanting to work. I see it in my own business. You know, sometimes we have people come in, They want to do the least amount of work possible. How is it as being as an owner, making sure that you have that healthy work environment for not only you, but also for your customers that come in?
Right. Well, it's a difficult task these days, you know, and that's something I'm trying to figure out. Is even like, I don't know if the younger generation has a better way of going about work and where you wanted to get yourself to be. Like, for me, it's like work as hard as you can, grind, miss time, don't have, you know what I mean? Like, this is more important than anything else you have, and so it would be like 6-day work weeks, 7-day work weeks. Now we're finally like in this business, like 4 or 5-day work weeks for people is kind of better now for them, so there's a little more leniency with it that gives you more time to kind of live life and enjoy it, and just finding enough people that are qualified or whatnot to do the job or care or the drive to want to do it and have the same, understand your passion, maybe, you know what I mean, to come in and want to be a part of it. So at least here we do have some people that, it's a lot of friends and family scenarios here. So we do have some people that have been involved one way or another with us for, 20 years, 15 years, stuff like that, So that helps out a lot. We're blessed with a pretty great staff here as far as any of that goes, and the care and the care and understanding is there with them.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, I think pretty much every time I have a waiter or waitress, there's somebody that knows your family, and they've known them for quite a bit of time, which is, I think it's really cool, and it adds even more to the experience, I think, where they're like able to break all the different items on the menu down.
Right.
They're able to talk on, Jamie's mother made this, or I've known them for so long. So just a really homey feeling, but getting people out there to work in a place like this where we don't really have a high unemployment rate, it makes it even more challenging when you don't have high unemployment rate and you still have thousands of jobs still available in Sioux Falls. So for those that are listening, definitely come check out Sioux Falls. There's definitely a lot of different businesses and opportunities for you guys to come out here. It's not like anything you think it is, I promise you that. But no, I think it's a really cool thing, and I want to give kudos to you on what you've been doing with this.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
There's one thing that we tend to kind of skip over in life, and sometimes it's good because you always want to look ahead, but it's the failures in life, the things that, you tried doing and it didn't work out, so you had to move on, or you kept trying it. I want to know for you, which is a tough question for everyone, what would you say is kind of your biggest failure in the restaurant industry, and how have you overcome that?
Right. Failure in general is a thing that everyone should probably experience one way or another, or losing, you know what I mean? And it's because it's how you're going to bounce back, how you're going to handle the situation, and how you adapt going forward with whatever lesson or anything you learned,
Yeah.
So maybe my biggest failure, I really would have rather got a restaurant open in my late 20s or early 30s than my 40s, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a little sooner for me to have a dream of owning my own restaurant might be like probably sometime I think about that more, because I've grinded so long, grinded so hard, where I'm kind of like I'm steering more to the pasture versus grinding harder, you know what I mean? And then opening a restaurant and I'm putting in the same amount of grind.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Each day, and even more now because it is mine and it is what I've wanted,
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people in life who kind of get complacent for working for other people. And that's not a bad thing at all, to work for another person on that. But when you have that passion and that drive, there's no stopping you on you going and working and building something of your own like you did. Because it takes a lot. And the reason I say that is because I grew up in a family who owned a restaurant. It was called Granny's Golden Oven. And I would always work there. I'd go there early, help out, make sure breakfast and stuff like that was ready, make sure lunch. And that's actually what kind of taught me my work ethic, is just at a young age, I was doing all this stuff, and I definitely wasn't getting paid for it and funds, but I was eating a lot, that's for sure.
Food was good.
Yep. But that was a valuable lesson for me that really taught me my work ethic, to be able to strive and really go get anything that I want in life and do it well. So
right.
Was there ever a point when you guys were starting to open this up that you didn't think it was going to open?
It was a process. Yeah. It's kind of more it's like, how is it going to be received? You know what I mean? For me. And, it's a difficult menu to navigate for me because not only do I have to have Brazilians know that's, you know what I mean? I got to bring them home. Right. And then I got to bring people around here that aren't Brazilian to Brazil in a way.
Yep.
Right.
And then at the same time, maybe have some nuances or something that can accommodate other people as well, food-wise, So it was with that in mind. Like, I can't just try to cater to Brazilians in the region. I want it to be accepted by everyone.
Right.
Absolutely.
Gaucho fries got me right away. I said, I'm eating cactus? Is that like, what? No. Okay. So I want to kind of change gears here a little bit. And we talked about the trials and tribulations that you've been through. And there was a few years ago, you lost your daughter.
Yep.
Right. And I want to talk about that. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because I know you're not alone with that. I know there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of issues in our country right now that need to be addressed. And, you lost your daughter to an overdose, which is a terrible thing. I knew her basically my whole life. I saw her a few months before she passed, and she had her big smile, on her face. So I want to talk about that. Obviously that the whole thing is a challenge, right? With you and your family, do you think, tying it back to the restaurant before we really dive into it, do you think that has helped you building this restaurant, bringing this alive? Do you think that's helped you with your grieving process?
It's kept me busy, it's pretty easy to kind of pretend like it didn't really happen, but it did happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was from day one, I just kept telling myself, just don't fall down the hole. Don't fall down the hole. You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep going. You got to keep doing. She wouldn't want you to fall, you know what I mean? Fall down and mess your whole life up with your grief. So for me, it is, the constant staying busy does help, it does help a lot and grinding. I even just, you asking me that question, sometimes it surprises me that I haven't gone the wrong route with everything,
Sure.
It's a pretty tough lesson and feeling to feel as a father, as a protector, that even though there's nothing I could have probably done, I didn't protect her, That's what I always sit with. So
natural feeling, I think. Yeah. I mean, she, like I said, she had that bright smile. She's a bright light for anybody that would have known her. And with that, how have you continued to go? You talk about you're surprised you haven't gone down that hole. And I know that there's people listening to this that have experienced something similar. I'm not going to say the exact same thing because it's different for everybody, but something similar. How have you stayed out from that dark hole? Because it's not easy, and it's something that you deal with every single day, and it's really a decision that you have to make. But do you find there's anything that helps you with it?
I feel like I don't just work, and we don't have this restaurant. Nothing is just for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if she were here, I know she'd be here grinding and here with me, along with me, and being part of the business as well. Yeah. So for me, it's like I can't allow myself to do that because I got to be there. For my mom, my dad, like all of us involved, the younger kids. Because if we're going to create something here and this is going to continue to grow, I want it to be still going if I pass on. Right. And hopefully it gets handed down to some of the younger kids, nephew, niece, whoever, if they have the drive to want to do it. So
right.
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's the unwielding. This was like my grandpa in Brazil bought ranch land with his brother. He was dirt poor from Rio, and then his brother wanted to sell it, and then he bought that. And then that just became a continuation for him, and he kept buying land and land and land. And eventually he had like 9.5 million acres of ranch land.
Wow.
Yep. And everything he did and everything he was doing that for was for the family. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what it was for. That was his whole integrity of work. As much as he probably enjoyed cattle ranching and all that, it was really for the whole family.
Right.
So and that's, in my mind, I feel like as much as you want individual success for yourself, I feel like it's got to be more for you. It's got to
Right.
be like take care of the family down the road, generation. Who can I help? Where can I get to even help friend or whoever? You know what I mean? Like it has to be more than just yourself. And
Right.
For me, I think that's what helps me a lot because I'm not going to constantly think about myself and where I'm at, sad or not. You know, because I feel like if I'm in a position and I have a moment and an opportunity. You got to just keep trying to advance and get to where you need to be.
Absolutely.
And bring everyone along you can. You know what I mean? Like however it works.
Right. I think that's beautiful. I think that's a big life lesson for myself. I think it's a big life lesson for everybody to, no matter what you go through, remember that what you're doing it for is really bigger than you. It's way bigger than you. And if it's not bigger than you, maybe you need to change what you're doing because most people do want to leave that legacy. Most people do want to leave their families in a better place than they were before.
Right.
And for a lot of people that do battle, whether it's battling addiction or you're going through grief, just remember that there's somebody out there worth fighting for, even if it's not yourself. Because a lot of people are way harder than on themselves than they are for other people.
Yep. It's difficult. You know, when you're doing good, everyone knows you're doing good. When you're doing bad, everyone knows you're doing bad.
Right.
When you ain't doing either, nobody's gonna know who you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
That's
it's
true.
So it's a weird balance, but
Yeah.
if the opportunity is now and it's time to seize it, you know, you got to just keep pushing forward and try to continue to have success, stay good, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then that goes with everything. So if it's a bad your name, you have a family name, and you know what I mean? Like you should have shame in not wanting your family to know you're doing bad or in a bad situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything should be uplifting for the whole family in general. With what you do.
That energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about generational wealth plenty of times in our previous episodes in our podcast and just how important it is. I mean, not just as a male, but I mean, for females, just as families to get out there and really leave your legacy, you know, because once you pass on this earth, you want to be remembered, you know. And that's one of my biggest fears is that when I leave is that I didn't change someone's life. I didn't leave a wonderful memory for someone. And so that's why every single day I wake up and I strive to make sure that I either change something positive in someone's life or I do something to continue to progress and move forward and leave something for my future kids or my wife or, you know, so, and that's what this is about as well. That's overstepping poverty. You know, it's each one teach one. The thing that we have on our shirts, we're continuously taking our knowledge and we're handing it down, and we're expecting our kids and our future grandkids and whatnot to do the exact same thing. So that's the main focus. That should be the main goal in life. You know, it's never just about you, like you said.
No.
So,
and that should be with everything. You know, that's the motto right there.
Yeah.
Right. If we should all be a teacher, even if we're not in school teaching in a way. You know.
Yep.
Like how can you help so and so person? You know, and it can be simplistic, but how can you help them be a better person in their life? You know,
Right.
Absolutely.
It's nothing magical, but I mean, if you can impactfully help people along the way of your journey, like I think that we're just obligated to do that.
Right.
You know, everyone should be that
Your
way.
purpose is, I mean, when you look at the most successful businesses in the world, they're all centered around how can we help the most people possible.
Yep.
Now, where that comes from is really up to the individual, but at the basis, it's I need to help the most people possible because then I can make the most money possible or do whatever, make the most change. I want to bring it back to Shayla before we move on. When you think about Shayla and you smile, right? What can you tell us a story about Shayla where it brings a smile to your face?
The smile for one, you know.
Yeah.
And but probably the hardest thing for me to not have anymore is just everything's going to be okay, Dad. I promise everything's going to be okay, you know. So when I'm worrying or doing anything like that, she was always really good. And look, not anyone can say that to me, and I have a calm about me. But when she would say that to me, it would give me a calm.
Right.
You know, like it was true-hearted. You don't need to worry, you know. So it's like all those moments like that with her are extremely missed. She's just
Right.
She's just full of life.
For sure. Like I said, she was a light. She was definitely a light for a lot of people. So, well, let's go into our next step of our podcast here.
Absolutely. Well, before we actually move into that,
yeah.
I do just have another question for you that we ask everyone on the episode. And that's when you hear overstepping poverty. I mean, you've seen a lot of our content. You've seen a lot of our interviews that we've already put out and whatnot. But for you, I'm assuming overstepping poverty means completely different than what you've heard someone else say. So what does that mean to you when you hear overstepping poverty?
Right. There's a couple. I always think about for myself is no alarm clock. Mm-hmm. Like a life with no alarm clock, that I'm finally successful enough and my business is running or whatever is going, that I don't have to be on an agenda certain time every day, right? Doesn't mean I'm not going to wake up. I'm still probably going to wake up at the same time, but not having the worry of like I have to be here to do this work or do this business every time, every day, remedial, right? So that's one thing that always sticks with me. Overstepping poverty is probably different for everyone, you know?
Sure.
It's like, are you still living check to check? Or was your situation even worse than like now if you're finally working a job and getting a check? You know what I mean? But through the end, being comfortable to live is probably, for me, would be overstepping poverty. To get to a point where it isn't check to check and I have some comfortability in life, financially wise.
Yeah.
Like that for me
Yep.
would be like overstepping poverty.
I love that.
Totally.
I love that.
And it doesn't have to be. I think a lot of times when people think of overstepping poverty, they do think of the riches and all of these things, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be, like he said, simply just getting better than you were before. You know, whether you didn't have a job last year and now you got a job and you're able to provide. Like that's overstepping poverty. You know what I'm saying? So I like that because I think it is different for everybody. So
absolutely.
Yep.
And we appreciate you answering those questions. We definitely had some tough questions set out for you here, but now I actually want to move into the part of our episode where you can actually ask us questions.
All right. While we were kind of talking about that earlier, but I think about this a lot myself, is when it's all said and done and you're gone, right? Unless they're writing about you in books and doing all this stuff, and like you're still going to be gone, and you know, like what is the legacy? Like, but what do you want to be? What do you want people to remember you for? And I'm talking like you've been passed on for a while, and family members that maybe don't even really know much of you, but there's always something that would be said.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like what would you want to be remembered for?
I kind of have two things that I'd like to be remembered for. One is going to be bringing people together. If everyone truly knows me, they know I love to host. I love to have people over, whether it's family or friends. I always like to be around the crowd.
You're social.
Right. I'm very social.
Yeah.
I am. My wife is completely different in that aspect there, but she definitely does well in accepting, letting me always be social. But I love just having that energy around people, and I want people to remember me of that guy who brought us together to meet another face, to meet a new person on that. But not only that, I would love people to remember me for just having positive energy all the time. You know, I'd like to think, and I'd like to say that there hasn't been many times that people have seen me where I'm just completely down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think I'm truly blessed. I think I've gone through a lot of situations in my life where I can easily just be like, oh, you know what, today's going to be a bad day because yesterday was a bad day for me and I didn't have any control over it, you know? And that'd be easy for me, but I like to always have a positive just outlook on things, a positive attitude, just positive energy all the time. So I'd love to be remembered for that. So and for those of you who are listening and you feel that I don't have that positive energy, just remind me of this episode.
right.
Because
For
that's
sure.
my goal.
Right. I like it.
I like that a lot too. I think for me it is a few things as well. As I think about it, the first thing I think of is I want to be the connector. I want to be remembered as the connector, the person that, like you said, bring people together, but I want to bring people together, but also connect them, you know, in a way that helps them overstep poverty, or bring, like when I think of the workplaces that I'm in currently or have been in, by the time I leave, you see a whole lot of more diversity. You see a lot more people in positions where you probably hadn't seen them in those positions before. So that's what I would really like to do and be remembered for, at least here in Sioux Falls,
Right.
is somebody that brought other people to the table and gave more opportunities to people just through creating our own table. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Family wise though, and like as far as a legacy for that, I would say I want to be remembered as the person that showed my family and generations to come that we don't have to live the same life that we've always lived.
Right.
It doesn't have to look the same exact way, whether it's the way we grew up or the lifestyle we're living now. Like I do want the riches personally, and I'm not afraid to say that because we all want different things in life, but I do want the finest things.
Right.
You know, why not? Why can't we enjoy the finest things in life?
Absolutely.
And that's something where, yeah, I would like generations and generations from now for my family to be enjoying the finest things in life.
Absolutely.
In their life. And if that starts with me, I'm okay with that. But I know it didn't. I know it didn't start with me. But yeah, that's what I would say. What about you?
I like it. Me? I think about it a lot. Honestly, because it's as simple as it is. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I want all that. But
Yeah.
like, for me, I just want to make it some type of impact in this community and be remembered for hopefully culturally diversifying the cuisine in this town. Like, that's as simple as my passion and care for me.
Love that.
And I don't know, because I feel like that would be spoke about in this community I'm in, the culinary community at least. I'd hopefully be spoke about for a while, generations down the road or however far it goes, you know?
Right. I think you're doing just that.
Absolutely.
I really do.
appreciate it.
Anytime somebody talks, or whenever I talk to a new client that's moving here to Sioux Falls or anything, I always mention Roots of Brasil because there's literally nothing like it here. You can't get it anywhere else.
And not
Seriously.
only you just mentioned it, I've seen countless people because I work at a car dealership, so I meet tons of different people. And I always ask them, like, hey, you know, have you tried any new places around town? And I swear every single time, Roots of Brasil always comes on that list of what they've tried and they've
Good,
enjoyed.
Yeah.
So,
Well, everything
yes.
else is chicken or a burger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's get real. We're sick of that.
Well, that's the thing too, man. It's like even with kids, like developing palates. Like my niece Ireland will eat, like, loves mussels. You know what I mean?
Really?
I know most kids are like just chicken
Creeped
strips
out,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's
Yep.
noodles and you know what I mean. So like
Right.
when I see things like that, kids trying or even adults trying something that's out of their norm.
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
I feel like that's what I'm here.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm here doing. You know, like
Yep.
diversifying
true.
your palate. Hopefully, you know.
Absolutely.
Helping them grow. Oh, that's awesome. Any other questions for us?
Yeah. What would be the dream job for either of you?
Job.
That's a great question.
Dream job. Money's not an issue. Honestly, I would love to be a GM for an NFL football team because I think I would be able to put together the best team.
You haven't been doing very well in fantasy.
Yeah, oh,
See,
yeah.
that's a little bit different because I got to be the owner, GM, and coach. I don't want to do all of it. I
Okay.
just want to be the GM.
Okay.
Okay. But just so you know, you mentioned fantasy. I have the most fantasy football championships in our league.
You
so-
create the league.
Exactly.
You invite the people. He's like, hey, I invited some people who didn't know how to play fantasy.
I'm fixing points.
Yeah.
You guys don't know, but yeah. No, but I think that would be my dream job just because I love the game of football. I want to be, you know, at the highest level of it. And I would be the first one, probably, to bring the Vikings a Super Bowl. So,
Oh, my goodness.
Mr.
here
Wolf,
we go.
if you're listening to this,
He's available.
Wesy got to go.
For me, it's actually pretty simple, and that's why I actually wanted to start this. But I enjoy talking. I do. There's sometimes people will see me and they'll be like, when are you going to stop talking? Especially at work, I have a ton of people who are just like, bro, why are you still talking? All right, well, whatever. But and this is what I enjoy to do, the podcasts and
Right.
whatnot, because I can sit down with a different individual every single week or every couple of days and just connect on something that I didn't even know about you. And I have enjoyed about that, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so doing a podcast and just being able to do this to be able to obviously put food on the table and do this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's my goal. That's why we started this. So hopefully I can fulfill that dream here. So
I'm
Absolutely.
hoping for that too, man. You guys
You're already
Appreciate
doing
that.
it, brother.
yeah, you guys are doing great.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And it's easy. You make it seem easy. I'm over here sweating.
It's fun. No,
I mean?
I love it. Going off of what Daquan said, being able to sit down with so many different people, awesome people that are succeeding in what they're doing, whatever it is that they're doing, and being able to get their perspective just on their life's journey and some of the hard things that they've been going through and the good things that they've been going through. Perspective is the biggest thing that I take away every single time.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's easy in life when we have problems and we feel sorry for ourselves, and then you talk to somebody and you understand maybe what they're going through, and you're like, damn, you know, my life really isn't that bad, or the problem really isn't that big, or life could be a whole lot worse, or maybe you're like, you know, like actually I am doing pretty good, you know. So it gives you different perspectives on that and connects us. It connects us in a way to where 20 years down the road, when this video is still on YouTube and all those other things, people will be able to go back and look and say, oh, dang, like this is where Roots of Brazil was 1 year into being open.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. It's really cool.
And you're connecting with the community, you know? You're
Yeah.
sharing people's stories, and you're helping elevate what they're doing and whatnot. So it's a great service that you guys are doing, and I
Appreciate
it a
that.
lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got time for another question from you here before we move into our next segment. So.
Okay. One more question.
Oh, yeah.
So if it works out for both of you, is it quit the other jobs and this is what it is full time on the pod?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's probably, I'd imagine that's hopeful a goal as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's what I'm hoping for both of you. So
Yeah, 100%. You know, if we're able to, and when we will be able to do it, just go all over. You know, whether we're going to New York or whether we're going somewhere in Indiana or wherever, and being able to connect to people even outside of our community and really get to a point. Because if we're at that point, there's people that will be brought with us.
Yep.
You know, and then that means that we're changing more lives than just ourselves, and that's really what it is about. But then, you know, I think of my sister, for instance. She's somebody I would love to take with, just because I hate to see her work in the job that she works.
Right.
And it's not and she's leaving that job, but I don't know. It's just the quality of life for people, I think, could be so much better. And when you're going somewhere to just sit down and talk to them,
Right.
it sounds like just sitting down and talking, and people look at it a little funny, but there's so much power in it, and there's so much connection that's made, and there's so much that can come from it. That is the goal, 100%.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And the way I see it is there was a higher power, you know, whether you believe in God and you're spiritual or whoever you believe in. I believe that there was a higher power that brought us to the point of me picking up the phone and calling Zach and saying, hey, let's do this.
Right.
You know, and the way that it's transpired over the past 10 months has been unimaginable. These are things that, we set goals and whatnot, but we've definitely taken those goals and we've exceeded them tremendously.
Yep.
But so, if it continues to take us in that exact same route, it's unfortunate, but there's no way I can't do something that I love. I can't just be like, I can't pass up on that, you know?
Yep.
Where I do love what I'm doing now, working in the car business, but I do know that I love this as well. And if it comes down to it where I have to pick one or the other, right now I'm doing both, but I will pick whichever one I love most. So.
Good.
So now that was a great question. I appreciate that. And now I just want to take us into the next segment of our episode here. Just because with each person, they bring so much value and wisdom and so much information to give to others. And so we always ask, our guests to come prepared with just 5 tips, tricks, and hacks that they would tell someone else to overstep poverty. I know one of yours previously that you said in this episode was really taking that opportunity. Like when the opportunity is there, don't back away from it. Don't shy away from it. You need to go full in, take the opportunity. And that's how you grew this wonderful business. So why don't you go ahead and take it away and tell us what those 5 tips, tricks, and hacks that you have.
For me, it's like I said, if the younger generation can show an easier path to success, I'm all about anything. But for me, it was always put your head down, work as hard as you can, and try to be the best at everything you do, which it's hard to even play games with my family because I try to be the best at everything, from board games to whatever, I don't have to be the best, but if if you're better or the best at whatever I'm doing, like I want to at least be right up there with you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Compete.
Like,
Yeah.
So that's the competitiveness and the strive and just and the work, grind, and focus on whatever it is you're trying to do. Like that's who I am. Like I said, it would have been nicer if it was a little more relaxed.
Right.
But that's the only way I knew how to attain where I needed to get. You know what I mean? Then another one would be like be able to be taught. You
Yes.
know? Be able to be
coachable,
taught. And,
yes, sir.
Be coachable. You know, understand that. Be able to take criticism. Be able to understand like whoever's maybe teaching you or taking you in is trying to help you
Yep.
and not criticize you. You know,
Right.
Absolutely.
like that's a big one that a lot of people don't get. You know, like, and there's not a lot of people as you get older and women and men or whatnot. Like people don't want to be told that they're doing something wrong or you correcting them or something.
Pride.
But yeah, when you're not, so you almost have to go about it different. Like you don't want them to feel like they did it wrong or they're doing it wrong, but you just
Right.
want to get them. I want to get them to where they can do it. There's an easier way. This is better. This is how I want to help you get there.
Yep.
You know, like that type of stuff. So
And that's the mindset of, I mean, really an owner or a leader, that you need to have someone or hire someone that you want to be better than you are. You know?
100,
And the
yeah.
only way that you can do that is by teaching them. So
Yep.
that's what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's for me. I take more pride than knowing a couple of kids that have been under me or whatnot, and then where they're at in their career and how far it's taken them. You know,
Right.
like that's really at the end of the day. I would have loved to be a coach, but you should be a coach in your whole life. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be sports. You know, just like I said, we should have a human obligation to help the other person, help the younger people, help whoever we can that wants to listen.
Right.
And be
Yep.
that sponge, and you think that you can make a difference, or they'll pay attention, and you can get them somewhere faster than they would without your guidance. You know,
Absolutely.
Sure. When they say getting a mentor is one of the biggest things you can ever do to promote your success, and that's what a boss or a coach, that's what they are, is a built-in mentor for whatever it is you're doing. So if you have a good boss and a good leader that's able to coach, it's hard to not take that information in,
Right.
Because
Yeah,
it can only make life easier,
Right.
right?
I don't, even through the years, I don't want running kitchens and whatnot. Like, I don't need you to have to stay with me forever.
Right.
If I see you got the same drive, fire, and passion and talent, I want you to get away from me as soon as you can and do what I'm doing somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's good.
You just have to have drive. You have to have drive. You don't want to be complacent, but that's also okay. Like you said earlier, what I'm saying is if that's how you are in life and you're comfortable where you're at, and I feel like there's a lot of people that just don't, they get to a level and then they're just good with it.
Yeah.
I want to keep going level as far as I can go. I think that's
Right.
how I am, but I know some people are just like content with where they're at, and
Right.
there's no problem with that. But I feel like you have to have the drive.
I agree. I think there actually is a problem with that personally, because I think that's selfish when you get to a spot and you just stop striving for more, because we talked about it earlier. There's more people coming behind you. You're not going to be here forever.
Right.
You
But
know,
I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but
well, fuck it.
You're right.
there's a lot of people, man, that don't want to advance. You know
No,
what I
you're
mean?
right.
And it's frustrating to see, and it's frustrating to want to try to work with some of them or whatnot, and try to get come on, you can do so much more, but you don't want the stress, you don't want the extra stress, and you don't want the responsibility. So
Right.
You just want to stay where you're at in the mediocre level of whatever it is you got going on.
Yeah.
You know?
I just think of if you're at that point where you're comfortable and you don't want to get any further, it's like, why not, for one? And how much better could life be if you did strive for more? If life is good
left?
now,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have a different perspective when I'm older, but I don't know.
No, I think you're just fine with that. I just didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
That's all good.
I totally agree with that, because what's left then? You know what I mean?
Right,
So you're already
exactly.
sitting here at 24, 25, and you're just content with kind of
where
where
you're
you're at.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
Not going to lie.
So
Yeah.
let's get one more out of you for the 5 tips, tricks, and hacks.
There's all kind of hacks to get to where you need to be. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it's whatever it is, whether it's angling, knowing who to talk to, relationships with other people. Everything's a relationship you can have. Everyone out here that I can get with and talk to is a relationship, and everything can be a business relationship or something that an opportunity that you didn't know about.
Right.
Just by having casual conversation and then being like, oh, you're into that, you do that, and then next thing you know, you guys are trying to start a business or working together or doing something. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Constant connecting. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yes.
I agree.
Thank you so much for those 5 tips, tricks, and hacks. And I really like that last one there. It's just the world is built off of relationships, and that's also how you become successful. I mean, in life, the more people that you know, obviously, you'll do well. The more people you know, you'll grow.
Right.
And that's just one thing that everyone should focus on, building and maintain relationships with the right people.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But again, Jamie Grogan here at Roots of Brazil. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. It's awesome having you on, and I'm excited for everybody to get a sneak peek and see what this is all about here at Roots of Brazil and get down here and try this awesome food.
Yes. So you heard it first. Get down to Roots of Brazil. Try some awesome food. Again, there's a lot of heart poured into what you're receiving on your plate there. So also, if you have time right now, go to oversteppingpoverty.com. Go and get some merch and get your apparel there. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. That's Overstepping Poverty. But until next time, we'll see you next week on Overstepping Poverty. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Overstepping Poverty. We hope you found this week's discussion informative and thought-provoking. We know that tackling poverty is a complex issue, but by working together and understanding the root causes, we can make progress towards creating a more equitable society. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our show. Until next time, let's take the next steps in Overstepping Poverty.